So now that the 2021 NBA draft is over, we do the only rational, logical thing. No, not sit there and wait 3 to 4 years to see how players develop, how players adapt and adjust to the NBA game and to their team, see what things happen or shake out or anything like that. No! No, 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 no! We don't do that! We come on here and we make immediate takes. Some of which will be fine in 3 or 4 years, and some of which will make us look like idiots. Because, damn it, that's what fans do. This is the fun stuff. Anybody can sit there and be logical and rational and say, hey, you gotta wait and take time to develop it, blah, 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 blah. No, we're gonna be stupid. We want to do this now. Because it's fun. Because there's still a piece of, regardless of how some of these things ultimately work out, there's still a piece of how you utilize the draft pick capital you have, how you maximize the capital that you have, how you accumulate more capital in this current draft, how you accumulate more capital in future drafts, the value that you get relative to, so there's a lot of things relating to the draft game and fits and the talent you get itself that you can absolutely evaluate right away. You absolutely can. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about the biggest winners and losers from the 2021 NBA draft. And I'm going to go right over to the winners. Felt there were several teams that had pretty good nights for themselves. An easy selection to me. No disrespect, Detroit. But when I look at the body of work of the Houston Rockets, they had more picks, and I thought they did more with those picks. Cade Cunningham's a cornerstone type of guy, a Luka type of guy for you, and that's great and wonderful. But, when I look at the overall body of work on Thursday night, you talk about getting Jalen Green at number 2, a potential 30-plus point per game scorer and hair game on point. Getting him at number 2 overall, and then being able to trade up to get Şengün at 16. I was frankly stunned that that the Thunder didn't just stay there and take him. That felt really weird for more future first-round picks that you don't frickin' need. You need talent. But getting Şengün there, can he defend? Right now, you're the Rockets, you don't give a shit. You want guys that can play. You want guys that can score. You figure out the defense later. And by the way, Şengün's all of 18, 19 years of age. There's nothing saying that he can't develop some of that in his game. Getting Garuba and Christopher with the 23rd and 24th picks. Garuba's one of those guys that he may not ever develop much of an offensive game. He reminds me some of a Mikal Petrus. But if he does, it just means he's going to vastly outplay this draft position. But his ability to defend the 2, the 3, the 4, to be able to get that, he's a high-level defender now. He should be able to play in the NBA right now, 15 to 20 minutes a game, just because of his ability to defend. Just because of his ability to defend. And they got that at 23. And Christopher is one of those guys, worst-case scenario, you're talking about a guy that comes off the bench and gives you some offensive punch. I thought the Rockets had a really good night for themselves. The Oklahoma City Thunder. Giddey was a slight surprise at 6. I personally had him slated to Golden State at 7 in my final mock draft, so I wasn't surprised by the range. But as I think about it more and more, I look at the Oklahoma City Thunder and I say, you know what? You're in the position where you have a shit ton of picks, which means it buys you the luxury to swing big on some of these guys. It's what you're going to need to do. You need to find some franchise guys. Giddey is the type of guy that you swing for the fences on because of that size, because of that ball handling ability, because of that ability to distribute and facilitate, playing some type of point forward type of role. He could potentially play alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That deal made sense to me. Trey Mann at 18, a combo guard that I also think could play alongside Shai and play alongside Lou Dort. And then getting a guy like Jeremiah Robinson-Earl via trade early in the second round, like a Draymond Green type of guy, he should be able to play right away in the league and be a solid contributor for them. They needed players, and they got a couple of guys with some upside here that I think could come in and contribute right away for them. I did not like that they traded out of the chance to get Şengün just for future first-round picks. Now, I want to call this out again, everybody wants to praise Sam Presti for all of the draft pick capital that he accumulates, just like y'all used to sit there and praise Sam Hinkie for all the fucking draft pick capital he got with the 76ers. At some point in time, you have to convert those picks into the right players. At some point in time, the picks don't matter. At some point in time, it's about the Jimmies and Joes, the players that you bring in. That's what it is. So, yeah, on that. You look at the Warriors. They got a really good combination here. If they would have taken Moses Moody at number 7, it wouldn't have really made people that off-put by it. They'd have been like, you know what? I could see it. He's a 6'6" wing. He could shoot. He's got 3-and-D potential. Could come in and play right away alongside Clay and Steph and Draymond. Like, you get it. They got him at 14. So you got a potential instant contributor to some degree, a guy who's still some decent upside. You got him at 14 at the last pick of the lottery, and then at pick 7, you got Kuminga to fall to you. And this is an example if you're Golden State. You didn't flip these picks for, more established veteran or star talent. At least now you haven't. You look at a guy like a Kuminga, just like Wiseman last year. Now, you should have taken LaMelo Ball, obviously. But you're swinging for the fences on some of these guys while you're in the position to get some of these dudes, because you're trying to find, those guys that can help extend the shelf life of your, championship window, extend the shelf life of your championship run, and, potentially be the building blocks of that next generation as you eventually transition away from the Steph, Clay, and Dre era. Well, Kuminga fits that mold of the type of guy that you gamble on. He may be a bust. In 4 years, he could be a top 3 player out of this draft. So for the Warriors, I like what they did with both of those picks. For the Charlotte Hornets, I had Kai Jones mocked to them at pick 11. They were able to get him later at pick 19. And they got Bouknight to drop to them at number 11. Now all of a sudden you're talking about a backcourt of LaMelo Ball and James Bouknight long term. That backcourt is really exciting. That backcourt is something you can fuck with. That backcourt is something that you build around that could really make the Charlotte Hornets an interesting team in the years to come. And a guy that I was thinking would go 6, maybe 7. I had him in my last mock going 6 to the Thunder. You got him at 11 and then be able to move up and go to 19 and go get Kai Jones. Hell yeah, it was a really good draft for the Charlotte Hornets. They got some young talent. They got some upside there, certainly with Kai Jones. And they got the 3-level scorer, the great creator of his own shot in Bouknight. Nothing to complain about there for the Hornets. For the Magic, the big thing to me is, with Franz Wagner, if it's true that he's closer to 6'11 now than 6'9, it just increases his value of where you took him at 8. Because all of a sudden you talk about some of the skills that he brought to the table as a guy that could defend 2s and 3s and some 4s. Now you're talking about he could definitely defend 4s and 3s and 2s and maybe some of the more athletic, versatile 5s in the league. That just ups his draft stock a little bit. But then you talk about the fact that you were able to get Jalen Suggs to fall into your lap at 5. And the hell with Fultz and the hell with Cole Anthony. This is a cornerstone dude. If you were the Magic, you tanked for a reason. You tanked so that way you could get into a position in this draft to get a new cornerstone player and build around him. And while the lottery didn't work out that well for you, at the end of the day, you still got that cornerstone dude. You pounced on the fact that Toronto took Scotty Barnes instead at 4, and you said, you know what? We got us our cornerstone dude. I love that pick for them. And then the Clippers, not always about the teams that have the multiple high first-round picks or take 6, 7 dudes. You look at what the Clippers did. They got a high upside athlete, arguably the draft's best athlete with a 48-inch ass vertical, and Keon Johnson, and then were able to sit there at the beginning of round 2 and acquire a versatile point combo guard like Jason Preston, a guy you could have argued had late first-round talent there. Keon Johnson could potentially be a big steal. Jason Preston is a guy that's come a long way in a few years in terms of his game, which speaks to he might even have more upside once he gets to the league. I really love what the Clippers did here. It doesn't necessarily get them any closer to winning a championship, especially if Kawhi is going to be out all year. But long term, I like the work they did in this draft. I really, really did. So plenty of teams I thought did some good stuff last night. But unfortunately, there were those teams that didn't do so well. The Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't think I saw a single draft pick for them. And then you trade Ricky Rubio for a future pick? Yeah, that's not good. Whoopsie daisies. All of us fans that had to sit there and sit through a 5+ hour draft, that fucker was really long. Shorten it up a little bit, really. Furthermore, when you talk about losers, the NBA looks really stupid when they're coming out and announcing proposed trades 3 hours after a Woj bomb or Shams or somebody else has already spilled the beans. The guys on commentary on ESPN sat there and fucking talked about it already. Like you talk about, we got a proposed trade. Why can't you just do what the fucking NFL does? If a team's on the clock and they make a deal, the pick goes to them. This is so stupid and asinine. Dumb. Is it as dumb as what the New York Knicks did last night? I don't know. They traded out of both 19 and 21. Passed on the chance to get some real high upside talents like Jalen Johnson and Keon Johnson, just to name a couple. There's others you could throw in there, but I certainly would look at those two and say, if you're the Knicks, like, even if you've become a free agent destination and you got to the playoffs this past year and you've got cap space, so you become more appealing, the big market, everything else, you still want to be able to really connect on one or two of these picks. And in a deep draft like this, to me, it seems incredibly stupid to not, A, have sat there and taken those two picks and tried to move up closer to the top 10 to get one dude, or B, sit your fucking asses there at 19 and 21 and take the best player available. Why the hell would you pass up on the opportunity to take Jalen Johnson and Keon Johnson at 19 and 21? If you're going to say, well, they don't fit with Tibbs, maybe the problem isn't them. Maybe the problem is Tibbs. Like, I didn't dislike Quentin Grimes as a first-round talent. There were just better players on the board. He absolutely fits Thibodeau's system as a combo guard, as a two, but, yeah, that was dumb. Like, you wonder if they're going to really regret passing on a couple of those guys that had some of this major upside. The San Antonio Spurs. I had Primo, I think, going like 25 or 26 in my final mock draft. They took him at 12. Damn, son. Now, maybe it works out for him. And he certainly feels like, one of the youngest prospects in the draft. His skill set certainly feels like it fits the Spurs. But you took him at 12. You couldn't have found a way to potentially say, hey, you know what, Knicks? We'd like to have 19 and 21. You want to come up to 12? You got somebody in mind? They might have bit, especially since Chris Duarte went 13. Like, even if you feel like you could have gotten a little more, like, sit there and say, hey, we'll give you 12, New York. You give us 19, 21 in a future second and call it a fucking day. You might have been able to get the fucking dude. You might have been able to get Primo at 19 and then pair him with somebody else at 21. To me, we're sitting there and describing this whole kind of like almost arrogance of the Popovich way, similar to what we do with the NFL and the arrogance of the belief in the Belichick way. And the reality is the recent results aren't that great when it comes to the draft for the Spurs. So why the hell are they getting such a benefit of the doubt now? Like Josh Primo at 12, if somebody else had taken him at 12, like if Jordan and the Hornets had taken him at 11, we'd be clowning them to kingdom fucking come, and we should, because they'd be like, what the hell are you doing? You don't understand how the draft game is played. It's no different here with San Antonio. That was stupid. And then I look at the Kings and Davion Mitchell. I like Davion Mitchell. And I look at him and I say, here's a day one contributor. He's a solid defender. He, improved his shot a little bit. He could be a secondary ball handler. But did the Kings really need him? Like, how much playing time is he really going to get? Yes, you bring him in and he improves your defense. But what's the cost here? Like, you're talking about, if you're talking about a money ball or a winning lineup, you're talking about him, De'Aaron Fox, and Tyrese Halliburton? Like, yeah, best player available is one thing, but then you get to the point where you get too much of a glut and it becomes counterproductive at that fucking point. Unless you feel like for some reason you need one of these pieces to throw into a deal for Ben Simmons, which at that point I'd be like, why are you even pursuing Ben Simmons? But I don't get this one. I'm sorry. I just don't. And especially when you looked at the stat that was pointing out that he was in the same category of a Rafael Araujo and a Udo and a fucking Wesley Johnson as being guys 23 or older, and being a top 10 pick. That's not good company to be in. Like, maybe you got devastated because Wagner wasn't there anymore. Who the hell knows? But if you're looking to trade Buddy Hield, why would you acquire another wing that could shoot? Like, yeah, love Mitchell the player, but not here, not for this team. But anyways, those are my thoughts on what happened with the 2021 NBA draft. Shout out to the NBA for that very touching moment they had for Terrence Clark and his family. You know, it's a very important key reminder to all of us that, you know, tomorrow is never promised to any of us. So we should do everything we can to enjoy every moment that we have, because we never know when it could be our last. Really classy stuff of what they did there right after the lottery. Like, that was touching. That was well done. Like, that hits you right in the feels. You know, it really, really did. But you let me know. What were some of the best and worst picks of the night? Who were some of the biggest winners and losers of the 2021 NBA Draft? Let me know. You can follow me on Twitter if you don't already. Make sure you smash that subscribe button if you're first time checking me out. I'm out of here, folks. I got other things to do.